What up, my guys? Welcome into another show, man. It's college football talk with Jay Money and Dave Cokin, sports betting legend, as I always say, man. It's Friday, the last day of September 2022, man. We're gonna try to get some cash. First off, what's up with you, Dave? Everything cool with you, my brother?
Yeah, I got a little winner with the Bengals last night. Everything's going well right now, and hope to keep it going that way for the weekend. Been a kind of a crazy morning because of some information that came out on the Tulane quarterback Pratt. He's not going to play tonight, and the line in that Tulane Houston game has responded accordingly. A lot of steam on Houston.
Yeah, I saw it go up to four. It was sitting at 2.5 basically all last night after getting money come in on Tulane. We know their defense is really good, but yeah, if Pratt's out, that's pretty tough. David, just real quick. So like you possibly maybe Houston possibly worth a small play here. Do you think they have enough? Remember we talked
Well,
about it with Hungerson. I'm not a big fan of the guy, but can they get it done in this situation?
here's the thing: if you didn't get in on it when the information came out, it's kind of too late now.
Right.
So I did get it out to my clients at -3, and hopefully they bet it right away. Not a big play, just 2%. You
Right.
don't go nuts on this stuff, but it is an advantage for Houston. It's worth it. I'd
Yeah,
say
no, I'm with you.
I checked with Kenny White, whose position of power ratings in the best of the business, and he says it's a 3-point difference between Pratt and the backup. So there you go.
Okay. Hey, that's good enough right there, man. Maybe that offense isn't humming tonight, man. So maybe a lean towards the Houston Cougars in that one. Let's talk about this Friday night game here, Dave. We got UTSA coming in, laying 4.5 points versus Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee with the shocker smacked up Miami over there in their stadium, right? So that was pretty shocking there. Can they do it again? Can they back up success with success here, Dave?
I don't think it's a real good matchup for them. Um, look, they caught Miami just asleep at the switch last week. Bad job
Mhm.
by Mario Cristobal not having his team ready to play. Middle Tennessee got off to a terrible start. They just got destroyed at James Madison. But since then, they've played well with this new offense they put in. The problem is that they're not very good at stopping the run.
Mm.
And UTSA has a multifaceted offense, and they can run the ball. Harris is a real good dual threat quarterback. I think it's a good matchup for the Roadrunners, and I would look at the favorite in that game.
Yeah, me too. I got some on UTSA minus the four in this one, man. I need them. Mason, I mean, I didn't even know about the matchups. This is a spot play for me. This is a fade spot for Middle
Right.
Tennessee. Now, obviously, I mean, some teams are not vulnerable to the let down spots, but that was a huge win, man. It was a Super Bowl
Yes.
type of win. Now they come back home, getting patted on the back, and I mean, UTSA is a good team too. They're well coached, Dave. That's one thing I noticed watching them. The players really buy. They really respect their coach, buy into their coach. I like what he's doing over there. He's definitely a player coach as well. He's really good with recruiting over there. So looking for a letdown spot with Middle Tennessee. Hey, UTSA sitting at 2-2. They need this win, right? So yeah, I put a little something on UTSA minus the four there, Dave. I couldn't talk myself out. Real quick, Dave, if you don't mind. So we got this it's another Friday night game, Washington UCLA, and I was kind of scratching my head there. Did you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's going to be more of a learning experience because Washington has played extremely well so far,
Right.
but all their games were at home. And
Mm-hmm.
now they have to go on the road. It's not the most hostile atmosphere at the Rose Bowl. Okay, yeah, let's face it. If you're doing home field advantages, UCLA's HFA is not as good as really it should be. The fans just aren't there anymore. They need a smaller stadium. They're playing in a stadium that seats 9 million people, and they can't fill it. Um, UCLA, they're unbeaten. They haven't been great, but look, they've got a really good quarterback from right here in Las Vegas. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Charbonneau's a real nice running back. UCLA fits the stat profile that I like with underdogs. I'm not going to get into exactly what the profile is, but it'd be a guess on UCLA. I'm not actually going to put money on it. Um, I just don't want to go against Washington. They might be this good.
Yeah, that makes it. Yeah, you make a good point there. It is. It's always a little hesitant when they're playing their first road game, even though it's
Yeah.
not huge home field advantage for UCLA. It's still not their same stadium and with their same fans as well. So could be a little bit of a learning curve here. Like I say, first game on the road, and then what they smacked up Michigan State, which doesn't seem like that's too good of a win, just by 11 now after Minnesota took them to the win shit. Then they beat up on Stanford there. So and I'm not obviously Portland State 52-6. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah, I'd lean UCLA. I guess I'd say I don't know enough about these two teams to make a play in this game, but I would lean towards the home dog. And most of my guys that I respect, they're on UCLA tonight,
Yeah.
plus the 3. So it's up to you guys, man. I definitely would lean that way. Let's talk about some Saturday games here nowadays. We go kind of rapid fire a few games. I just want to know if you had someone now. Purdue, they're getting 12 points here. I know you know a lot more about this than me. I just wanted to ask one question: is the QB drop off that huge for Purdue?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
And Minnesota's playing great football.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it's a big number. So it's going to keep me off it, but I have no interest at all in betting against Minnesota right now. The Cobras they look like the team that maybe poses the threat to Michigan and Ohio State in the Big Ten. Minnesota's really good.
Mm-hmm.
This is Fleck's best team by a lot. Great running back. The quarterback, Morgan, is okay. He's not going to win you games, but he's not going to lose you games either. He's a good game manager. And the Gophers' defense has been fierce so far. This is not a team I want to play against until they show me some flaws, and they haven't yet.
That's a good point there, Dave. Sometimes you kind of find those teams like either I'm betting this team or I'm off their games. Yep. It sounds like that's how Dave feels with Minnesota here. Could be somewhat of a tricky game, obviously, with the different quarterback for Purdue. They do need a big win. Be interested to see if they can possibly keep it close in this game. One thing I kind of learned to do a few years ago is like when a huge player goes out and they move the line, a lot of times that like they get to overlooking their team. Man, it doesn't happen every time, but definitely can happen. But hey, no, we're not going to go against Minnesota over there. Dave, let's go to Michigan here real quick. Guy, they're laying 11 points versus Iowa. Iowa, really good defense, but can't score. Everybody's on Michigan here. What do you think, Dave? Can Iowa be a stifling home dog here?
Yeah, I think maybe they can with their defense, but it's so tough to bet on Iowa because if they fall behind, then what do they do? And people love to bet against Iowa, I think, because they hate the style of football they play.
Mm-hmm.
And you can count me in that group. I mean, I'd rather rearrange my sock drawer than watch an Iowa football game. Now, they are the root canal of college football TV watching.
That's a good point. Be interested to see if Harbaugh can coach his team to smack up the Iowa team, man, or do they have a little letdown? So that's a tough game for me. We know that their defense can keep them in it. Just be interested to see if Harbaugh, like they always have like a game like this that could possibly trip them up, right? So just be interested to see if they've really gotten over that hump to where they don't lose these type of games and can win by double digits.
And the thing is, as ugly as Iowa is, with their defense, they're generally not going to get blown out,
right?
Especially at home.
Yeah, and they got the home crowd behind them as well, so that defense can keep you in games, guys. If you can stop the other team from scoring, you have a chance here. So, but let's get into man, real quick. I know this one on the list, Dave, but I'm just generally questioning about Oklahoma. I had a big play on Kansas State last week. Is Oklahoma an auto bounce back, or can TCU's gotten a lot better? Do you think they can hang with Oklahoma?
I don't know. I don't know. It's the best answer I can give you. I just don't know what to make of Oklahoma at this point. Big 12 is a confusing conference.
It is.
And, I think Oklahoma might be too good for TCU, but you got a new coach. Get off the game. They can't be happy about that loss to Kansas State. TCU looked pretty good last week against SMU. I don't know. I mean, this is one of those games. It's probably the first game I crossed off the list this week as one. I don't want to play this because whatever I'm doing, it's going to just be a guess, and I'm not into guessing.
Man, TCU in theory should be turned up from this. So they've lost the last 8 times versus Oklahoma. I know it's not this simple, but I'm sure Sonny Dykes like, okay, we've been getting our ass kicked by this team forever. Now it's time for at least try to at least keep it close. So maybe with the new coach over there, obviously Gary Patterson going, and the defense and the offense looks improved. They have some speed over there as well. Oklahoma maybe looking like they're taking a step back over there. So be interested to see what happens. They got a defensive coach, and the defense hadn't looked too good versus the good teams. So be interested to see what happens in that one. Let's go over here. Big game here, Dave. Alabama versus Arkansas here. Can we trust Arkansas's defense or their secondary enough to maybe take them as a home dog here?
I think I'd rather have Arkansas than Alabama here. Can they win the game? Probably not. Can they hang around? Yeah, I think they might be able to. Pittman's done a really good job with this team. And the question is, can Arkansas score enough to make this competitive? Because Alabama's got to get its points.
Right.
I think I would lean Arkansas. I'm not going to bet the game. But at more than 2 touchdowns, yeah, I can see them competing. The problem is if Alabama gets rolling, this is why I don't like betting against teams like – well, I mean, if Alabama has a hot day, there's nothing Arkansas can do.
Right.
So, I mean, my numbers say it's a little closer than the line, but I just have trouble betting. I have trouble betting games or betting teams that I don't think have much of a chance to win the game. Mm-hmm. They might hang in and cover. So one last night with Utah State against BYU. They hung in and covered, but they're tough games for me to bet because things can get out of hand in the second half. And they almost did last night in the BYU game, interestingly enough.
Hey, that's a good point, man. KJ Jefferson and the boys, I believe they only lost by 7 last year, so they're able to keep that close. You could argue, well, I'm not sure about the Arkansas team, but you could argue that this. What do you think? Do you think this Bama team is better or worse than last year? I don't think they have those dynamic receivers that they had in years past.
I don't think they're quite at the level yet that they were last year, but it's early. We're only 4 or 5 weeks in. And they're going to get better. What did I have here? Arkansas, by the way, Arkansas has to rebound from a game they should have won. They should have won last week. The post-game win expectancy was like 67%, and they lost that game. Sometimes tough for teams to rebound off games like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, I'm not worried. I had Texas A&M money line in that one, so I needed them. I needed them boys to win that one, but hey, it happens. Let's talk about this Wake Forest and Florida State here, Dave. It's Florida State. We know they smacked up BC. You told me the BC was just horrible,
BC's
so
terrible.
we can't take too much in that game. But Florida State, I mean, they're undefeated. They're playing well, right? Wake Forest. You talk about a team coming off a tough loss. Mm-hmm. I did know there was a stat out there when teams after they play Clemson that they're kind of beat up or whatever. What do you think about this one? Do they have it in them to go back to back tough games?
I think they do. Wake Forest showed me a lot last week because it was 14-0 Clemson immediately, and it looked like, well, this is going to be a bad game for Wake Forest. From that point on, Demon Deacons were the better team, and Clemson was lucky to get out of there with the double overtime win. I think Clawson's a really good coach. Hartman is a fantastic quarterback. I think Wake Forest is just as good as Florida State. Now, they do have to rebound from a very difficult loss, so that's keeping me away from it. But on paper, I think Wake Forest has every chance to win this game.
Yeah. I didn't like that it went to overtime, but definitely like just matchup wise, I don't think Florida State's necessarily 6.5 points better than Wake Forest.
Neither do I.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me is coming off the big game, grueling type of game, and it went to overtime, so you had to play extra time as well. But their offense definitely should be able to keep them in this game. It's just can they have enough defense to stop Jordan Travis and the guys over there? Man, maybe it could be a 3-point game either way. Wouldn't be surprised if Wake Forest won that one outright, my guys.
I agree.
Yeah, let's go over here to the street. Hey, we got Kansas. Dave, what the hell is going on over here with Kansas, my guy? I mean, these guys are – man, they're playing really well here. Iowa State coming in, laying 3 points on the road here. Do you think that maybe Kansas, do they still have value? Do they continue to win at the house?
I think the value might not be there anymore. But you want to go against this team right now? I'm waiting for something bad to happen to Kansas, and then maybe they'll they'll be a team to go against. But they're just on an incredible roll right now. They're having fun. The quarterback's playing great.
Mm-hmm.
This coach is outstanding. And Iowa State isn't fantastic this year. My numbers say Iowa State should win the game, but I'm not going against Kansas. So I'd either take the Jayhawks or leave it alone.
Yeah, man. Iowa State has, in theory, you get the revenge for Kansas in here. In theory, they've lost the last 7 to Iowa State. We know those were really bad Kansas teams.
Yes.
In theory, you could say that Iowa State owns them, but obviously this is a much different Kansas team, and they're playing with confidence as well. It's just so crazy. Last year's game, they were laying 34.5 points and won 59-7. Now they're only laying 3. So it kind of tells you that, hey, maybe Kansas, this is their year, one of their best chances to win over Iowa State. Me personally, I don't like if Iowa State was coming off a win, maybe, but the fact they're coming off their loss now 0-1 in the Big 12, I don't see them really looking past Kansas. And I mean, Iowa State defense isn't bad. They may be able to ball up Kansas here. So usually I'd like to take the Kansas, the short home dog here. They're playing well, but I'd lean Iowa State here, even though the numbers all over Kansas. I'd lean Iowa State minus the 3 to bounce back to go. You don't want to go 0-2 to start the conference, in my opinion. So it's almost damn near a must-win game for Iowa State here.
Interesting thing is, if things don't work out for Iowa State, you wonder if Matt Campbell will say, "Okay, I'll take the job at Nebraska," because he's definitely on their list.
It's very positive. Hey, they beat Iowa this year. That showed me something right there. They usually get owned by Iowa. We beat them 10-7. That was a good game versus Baylor as well, right, Dave? Even though they were at home, Baylor's no push over there, man.
No.
So I feel like Iowa State may be playing a little bit better than we expected coming into the season. Because I thought they were going to be pretty bad as well after losing the quarterback. But I mean, when they beat Iowa, that kind of showed me something there. It's 10-7 game, but it's not easy to beat Iowa up there in Iowa as well, especially for Iowa State. They've been owned by these guys. But let's stay in the Big 12 here, Dave. What do you say? Let's go to the streets of Waco here. We got Baylor laying 2.5 points versus Okie State. I want to take revenge here. I want to take Big 12 championship revenge here. I want to take OK State here, Dave. I had the Kansas State spot circled last week, and I had to bet it if I had the spot circled before the season. This was a spot I had circled, Dave. Could you talk me off Oklahoma State?
I like this Baylor team a lot, and I think they're extremely well coached. But I think this spot favors Oklahoma State, and I think they're legit. It could very well be when the dust settles, Oklahoma State couldn't win this league. So they got to prove it here. Mm-hmm. This is a big game for them. But I think Oklahoma State's a little better football team. I think situationally it's not bad for them. Mm-hmm. They haven't been involved in as many difficult games early on. So I would side with the Cowboys in this game.
Yeah, and they could have been. They played some cupcakes, but you know how it is, Dave. When you have your eyes set on bigger things, you kind of just get through those games. There's no real need to blow them out or to get injured or anything. Just get out of there with a win and focus on probably this game. I mean, they're coming off a bye week. This is a huge game. This is a huge game for Oklahoma State.
And I took them. That extra week of prep time is big.
I took them plus 2.5. While Baylor's. So look, you went to BYU. You come back home. And then you go up to Iowa up there, which is not a close trip. Then you come back home. This team has been doing some traveling as well. I just feel like while you're up there fighting it out with Iowa State up there, Oklahoma State watching your game, getting ready for you. And they have revenge, championship, basically playoff revenge. I have to take Oklahoma State here, Dave. I like it, my guy. One more day. I got to ask you. So we're just going to talk about 2 more games. I did take Charlotte here. I know we were down on UTEP last week. They got the huge upset win. Now they're going on the road laying points. Charlotte was missing their quarterbacks for a few games. That's why I really think the market is really down on them. Now the quarterback is back, right? Yeah. Maybe we get one of these situations where they're being undervalued here.
I wouldn't disagree with that. And it'll be interesting to see how UTEP handles the success they had last week. Right. That's a big upset. That's a big win for them. And they had not looked good going into that game. Mm-hmm. So I think Charlotte's live here with the quarterback back on the field and would not be surprised. To me, it's not an upset if Charlotte goes in and gets the win here.
I think they should be favored, guys. I'm not a college football expert, but I'm looking at this game. UTEP traveling as well, damn near across country. Coming off a big win. Charlotte, very lackluster coming in, but remember, they were down to their third quarterback at some point, man. So now the fact he's back, these a smaller school. I don't even think most of the people know. They're just looking at the games, looking at the numbers, that they're terrible. I think Charlotte should be favored here, guys. So like I say, I'm not an expert, but I did take Charlotte plus the 3 and on the money line. I think they win this game. I wouldn't be surprised they win this game by 2 touchdowns or more. That's just the way I'm looking at it. One more game here, Dave. We got NC State going up against Clemson. They beat them last year. In theory, you could say Clemson revenge spot, but maybe NC State has finally started to catch up with them, right? What do you think about this game?
This could be. I would check the weather because that could be some note here.
Yeah,
I think this is really a strange game. I think NC State's a little overrated, but I think Clemson's a little overrated as well. So I'm looking. I think I'm going to be looking for a spot to play against both of these teams moving forward. I don't know what to do with this game. If I had to play it, I think I'd take NC State because it looks like a close game. But NC State has not shown the explosiveness that I want from them. I know they've got a good quarterback. They've got decent skill position people, but the offense really hasn't been at the level that I think most people thought it was going to be coming into the season. And it's still a very tough home field to win at. So I have no interest in laying the points with Clemson, but I don't think I'm getting it quite enough to pull the trigger on NC State. I'd lean that way, but not for real money.
Yeah, I know you follow Clemson pretty close. I know we cashed a nice play on them first game of the season. I basically just want to know, did they get better from last year? Because if not, it seems like NC State obviously still got. You mentioned something there with the weather. If it's windy and they can't pass the ball, that's definitely going to spell trouble because they need to they like to pass the ball, right? So I'd like to say they can keep it close, maybe upset them again here. So it just be interesting to see. It just feel like Clemson, maybe their whole owning the ACC, those days are somewhat over, man. You got what? You got Florida State, you got Wake Forest now, you got NC State that's starting to look good. So Clemson is not necessarily the top dog over there anymore. Maybe NC State has something to say. They beat them last year, man. They might be able to. I lean that way, but it's definitely a tough game there, Dave. But that's it, man. That's all the games for me.
Comment on the what is it? Molecular.
Yeah, that's my guy right there.
That's an interesting. Now the weather in that game, as of yesterday, I haven't checked the forecast today, but as of yesterday, the forecast for that game was likely rain with wind gusts up to 25 and that range. That's not good for Texas State.
Right. They like
Texas
to pass the ball.
Texas State's a bad team to begin with. Really bad. I mean, really bad. And they're kind of one-dimensional. They can't run the ball at all. So if you've got wind, James Madison is outstanding on the ground, both offensively and defensively. I mean, the game would be perfectly suited for them to have a big advantage over Texas State. The only worry to me would be James Madison being overconfident coming out of that great win last week. And I was on him. So I was very happy with that result at App State. But look, they beat the crap out of Middle Tennessee to start the season and then faced an FCS team the next week. They didn't have a letdown. They won by like 63. Right. The team's on a roll. I think James Madison can steamroll Texas State in this spot. They're good.
Yeah, they are pretty good. I had them. I'll tell you, Dave, I was fucking pissed. What'd they get down? 20. It had to be like 28-3. I was like, what the hell, man? I took this team. They got smacked up. It's like, hold on. They're coming back. Literally shut them out for the rest of the game. I was impressed. Let's just when
it got to 28-17.
You knew something.
I had James Madison. I'm watching the game. And when it got to 28-17, it's like, we're going to win this game. We're going to win this because App State was on fumes at that point. I think App State finally ran into it was a letdown spot for them. And I think they didn't play well the whole game. I mean, James Madison kind of shot themselves in the foot with turnovers in the first half. But once James Madison got ahead of steam up in the second half, They completely took over that game. They're
That's a good point.
they might win the Sun Belt. I mean, that'd be an accomplishment in their
That'd
first
be crazy.
year. But they're well coached. They've got a veteran quarterback who's, I think, on his third school now, and they're not a fluke. That team can play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a good point there. That's a good point, man. It's time to get out of here, my guys. Let me see. Yeah, I like it. I do kind of worry about a letdown spot, especially since it was such a big comeback win. I know that they were pretty hyped up. They are laying a big number here, but like you said, Texas State. I remember when I took them versus Nevada, and they got smoked versus Nevada over there. So they're not a good team. I do worry about the situation for James Madison.
I'll give you a little inside info. I have a pretty good contact at Texas State. The coach, he might not be there after this year. He may not be there. They might not win a game. They might not. They're 2-2, but they could end up stuck on 2 wins. They're a bad team. I like going against coaches who are on the hot seat. And while this one's under the radar, Spavital is on the hot seat at Texas State.
I like it. I like the inside info, Dave. Hey, let's get out of here, man. We talked about like 8 or 9 games, 2 or 3 Friday night games, some Saturday. Give us some free picks as well, Dave. Let's get to your. You got any best bet for us? And what you got on there, Wichita?
Well, I do want to throw a plug out here.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have many 5% plays. That's the highest level at Wichita, and I probably have less than anybody. I've had only 8 all year in all sports. But I'm 7-1, so that's 87.5%. Now, you might not follow hockey, but I do.
Right.
And I have a 5% play on an over and under points prop on a team I think is much better than the marketplace thinks. I think they're the most improved team in the league. So it's an over play, and it's a 5% play. Doesn't matter whether you like the sport or not. Just make the bet. I think you'll be cashing in April. Once the point totals are added up. I think it's a real good bet. So check that one out on my homepage at Wager Talk.
Yeah, we like cash, man, no matter what sport it is, man. But Dave, you got any best bet for us? And you already told us what you got going at Wager Talk. What you liking on the card for week 5 college football?
Let's see. Let me pick one that we didn't talk about yet. Let me get my list here. Okay. Yeah, the game got rescheduled because of the storm. But this East Carolina game, East Carolina should start this team. Okay, it's a good matchup for them. It's not on South Florida's home field. South Florida's not good at anything, basically. ECU is off the game. They should have won and lost. They should be able to run and pass against South Florida.
All right.
And I think anything less than 10 here is a bit of a bargain. So East Carolina minus the points.
I like it, Dave. I appreciate that as well. So, guys, we've already talked about 8 or 9 games. Dave gave his opinion on those. Then he gives us a bonus game as well at East Carolina. 3 plays for me, guys. One tonight, I'm on UTSA minus the 4. I'm on Charlotte plus the 3, and I'm on Oklahoma State plus the 2.5. If you'd like to tell me, let's cash. I'm not a college football expert, but I do like these spots. Let's go 3-0 one time for the one time, my guys. I'm doing an NBA preview show for the Mavs and the Nuggets with Ski Profit and Rob Vino right now, guys. Come back and tune in. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the show as well. We're here for you guys, man. So let's get this cash, man. Let's take the bookies to Smack City. Appreciate Dave as always for coming on with us. We're out.